down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. All I hang around is block boys. In my pocket, that's a knot, boy. Think you hot, but you not, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, stunting.
What up, YouTube? We are about to check out Why We Never Agreed on Zack Snyder by what's his name? So Uncivilized. I don't know if you could tell from other videos or others, like, stuff. I really like Zack Snyder as a director, and I think he's one of my favorite directors. At one point I never really had a favorite director. Like, I just had, like, there's just directors I liked, like Christopher Nolan. I like what he does. I like Quentin Tarantino's style of directing. I like who else? Could I say I say James Cameron, Steven Spielberg. Just like there's directors I liked, right? But I never had I wouldn't say I had a favorite until, like, I seen Zack Snyder's, like, way of directing and storytelling, and I was just like, I like this. Like, I like. And it's, and it like, it doesn't take away from, like, I like Christopher Nolan's style of storytelling and all that, but Zack Snyder to me has, like, a unique way of shooting and stuff that, like, I really fuck with, and I fuck with what he does. I'm just somebody who really I like his movies, and also I like that what he was doing with the DCU. And there's a lot of people who hate him for some reason. There's people who don't like him. There's a difference between hating him and not liking him, but they both, like, they think he ruined the DCU when it wasn't his fault. And to me, I feel like he actually was making it better. He was making it better, and he was making DC actually look good in film wise. And it's not to say that, like, the other stuff didn't look good. It's just, this was like the modern version of, like, all right, here is your DC characters and on film, and they're connected, and they're references to each other. And they're finally they had a plan, and they're going somewhere, and studio fucked all that up, but I want to hear his video on when he says why we never agree on Zack Snyder. And I think the way he might go about it, I think we're right here, but we'll see. But yeah, man, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification bell. If you wanna, watch, or go over to this dude's channel, so Uncivilized, check it out. But yeah,
get the best deal on it at nordvpn.com/uncivilized.
Jesus, crisp ass fucking.
Is Zack Snyder an auteur?
Mike.
What the
Hey, what? Auteur. The fuck is an auteur?
Zack Snyder an auteur?
What defines a Snyder cut? There wouldn't even be a Snyder cut if there wasn't something that made his work distinctively his. Usually that's thought to be his visuals.
People would think I was known for slow motion.
And yeah, no matter how many times people try to copy that Zack Snyder.
That's the funny thing. A lot of people, it'd be like a small minority that seems like the majority online. When I say online, on Twitter. Some people, you see it on Instagram and YouTube, but mainly Twitter. But they'll look at him, hate his directing style and all that, and label him as, oh yeah, this is a slow motion guy, when there's the option of using slow motion in film, regardless if it's a vlog, or a short film, an actual movie, a TV show. You're using what you're able to your advantage to make whatever you're telling, like, visually, like you're using it to help out the film. So like, it's weird when people say like, oh yeah, he's a slow motion dude, and it's like, well, there's a lot of other movies that use slow motion. Like, you don't call that out, but the other point I was trying to get to, I kind of derailed off, that was a lot of people could like, and no, actually I was actually going somewhere actually, but they complain about the slow motion and other stuff, but they don't call it out when it's in other movies that other, and it's not, I'm not saying they should be called out for it, but you don't go and look at the directors that do some of these other stuff, and they're clearly taking a inspiration from whatever Zack did from Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, whatever the fuck. So I always find that kind of funny and ironic, because it's like, these people would shit on Zack, but some of your favorite media content has some references to his work. I.e., I heard the X-Men, the dude who did the X-Men 97 show. I still gotta watch it, by the way. I'm saving it for a reaction, but I seen his tweet online saying he's inspired by Zack. He likes Zack's Man of Steel. So I'm like, y'all, like, what are y'all mad about? Like, what is it to be mad about? Like, my thing is, I have a reason to be mad, because y'all wanted it to end and it ended, and it was actually some good shit cooking up. Now it's like, okay, if this new thing that y'all have been asking for doesn't work out, then what? Like, like, I don't know. Well, that's something else. But let's
for slow motion.
And yeah, no matter how many times people try to copy
Amazing
that Zack Snyder
Spider-Man,
style, they never
WandaVision,
quite seem to get
Spartacus.
it right. Probably because
I
they
didn't
think
know Spartacus copied
that Zack Snyder style.
I didn't know it copied
They never
300.
quite seem to get it right. Probably because they think it's just style. But some of his shots, like this one from Batman v Superman, contain enough substance to fill an entire video. And that video would be about the international scope of Superman's mission, the spiritual deadness of humanity, and the way that they treat Kal-El like the Messiah. Stuff like this is why critics who liked the movie called it a thrillingly intelligent, high-quality superhero movie for.
Tell this to the people online. Tell this to the people online who keeps, bro, it's crazy. Motherfuckers don't like Batman v Superman to me. Like what? And I'm gonna do a movie reaction on basically on all of Zack's work. But like we're gonna do a DCU run. So yeah, we're gonna check this shit out
For adults, filled with discussions
to see if I'm tripping. But you got other critics, BBC. Hold on, you got BBC.
thrillingly intelligent.
You got Armand White,
super-
the Australian, giving this good reviews. High quality superhero movie for adults, thrillingly intelligent.
Superhero movie for adults, filled with discussions of
philosophy and theology. Like,
philosophy and theology.
Come on, bro.
But actually, most of them didn't like the movie. They called it things like dopey, witless, and hollow. See,
witless? Witless was that's your critique?
didn't like the movie. They called it things like dopey,
Dopey.
wit.
This movie wasn't even anything near dopey. Niggas, bro, people will look at dark coloring and nighttime and consider it it's brutal. Like, do y'all know the other character in Batman v Superman is Batman, right? Y'all know that, right? Y'all know, like, Batman's thing is brooding, and then the storyline of Batman v Superman, he thinks Superman's the bad guy. So when they confront, or you like it, you literally, bro, you literally can look at it from a director's standpoint. Literally, you have Superman in the sun doing his thing, right? Batman's at night, like, you know, brooding, dark time, whatever, right? When he gets, y'all know in the movie, Lex Luthor has somebody frame Superman for killing somebody in Africa. And also the building, the fucking Senate building, they were having that big court discussion at. So what does that do? You start to see the brooding nighttime start going over the Superman. It's literally, it helped, like, I don't, it's like, are y'all, like, do y'all not understand? Like, I know, like, for a common person who doesn't understand film and all that, or doesn't look at film that deep, all right, cool. But, like, for people who actually critique about movies and sit there and want to be film vloggers and all that, you can't look at a piece of film and, like, understand, like, you need to go to film theory class or something. Like, I don't know. It's like shit like that makes me so mad, because it's like Zack actually puts out good quality content, or not even content, good quality movies, and you shit on it, and your review is dopey and witless
and hollow.
It's crazy.
See, Snyder's different from someone like Michael Bay. Everyone pretty much agrees.
Oh, and I fuck with Michael Bay films. Like, I don't know if it's because people don't like him as a person, but I don't know. But him as a director, I fuck with his films. Like, Bad Boys 2 is what, like Bad Boys 1, you know, is classic, but Bad Boys 2, that right there, like, made it even better. To be like, yeah, okay, this is what like Bad Boys needs to get into, in the sense of, like, the action and style. And then Transformers, I fucked with his, I fucked with the first three. I gotta rewatch the other ones, because I'm not gonna say I don't like them or all that, but I remember enjoying the last other ones with Mark Wahlberg. But to me, the first three with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox is it's classic. It's timeless, man.
What Michael Bay movies are, they just disagree about whether they like it or not. But with Snyder, it's like they're watching two different movies. As you've probably guessed, there's a reason why that is, but it doesn't have much to do with Snyder's style. See, Snyder cuts aren't so much defined by the way Snyder frames his images, as they are by the way he...
Bro, the way he films? Like, I'm telling you, I'm excited. I can't wait to do these, start doing these movie reactions to his films, because these films these shots, bro. Like, the thing I really love that what Zack did was, like, and you can say this for all his movies, but, like, specifically for the DCU, it looked like comic book, like the comic book was on screen, like, the whole time. Like, with Marvel, you'll get a few dope shots of, like, okay, this is like comic book right here in your face on screen. But with Zack's thing, Zack makes it like it's a continuation. It doesn't feel like it's just one small moment. It feels like it's like almost beginning to end of, like, and it's actual, like, also it's more than one scene also of, like, comic accurate shots you see from a comic book. Like, just even Batman standing on top of this statue of the Grim Reaper or whatnot, or Death, I should say, and him looking down. Looks like a fucking, like, comic book, like, out the comic book page.
Guessed, there's a reason why that is.
like Watchmen, all that whole movie like is the best example to give you of like beginning to end. But like his movie, he has a sense of style where you can sit there, enjoy the story, but also be in awe of the visuals that he's also telling with the story. That like it just but
it doesn't have much to do with Snyder's style.
Especially
Snyder
especially Sucker Punch. I love Sucker Punch, bro.
Aren't so much defined by the way Snyder frames his images as they are by the way he
Sucker
frames.
Punch is, I think Sucker Punch is his most underrated film he's made. That film is so underrated.
His story.
And not a lot of people talk about it, and they should.
There's two reasons you might want to actually watch through this sponsored section of the video. One, NordVPN is a well-designed and useful product. And two, there's not really a way to do it without explaining one of my behind-the-scenes writing hacks. You may already know this, but a VPN is a piece of technology that routes your internet
I like the way he did that ad. That was fire.
package. Now, we were talking about Zack Snyder.
Yes, sir.
And what defines a Snyder cut. But to do that, we need to turn back the clock a little bit on Zack Snyder's career, because understanding his project requires a deeper dive than just one movie.
Yes, sir. Let's get it. 300.
If we just go based on trailers, 300 was the movie that earned Zack Snyder the title of visionary director.
And bro, and people complain about slow-mo, but everybody praises 300, and 300 had a lot of slow-mo in it. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Y'all love 300, but you complain about, oh, he uses too much slow-mo, or he's just slow-mo. Like, I don't know, bro. That's just,
even though it was an
weird.
instantly iconic filmmaking landmark,
This is Sparta!
critics couldn't
even this
seem to
was slow-mo.
decide whether it was actually good or not.
Despite your several insults, the Lord of Hosts
What?
Decide whether it was actually good or not.
To actually decide what?
Despite your several insults, the Lord of Hosts is prepared to forgive all.
The movie isn't perfect, for sure. It suffers a bit from this on-again, off-again pacing issue, mostly felt in the political subplot that was added because Snyder and company felt the book was a little, well...
Spartan!
Some people also didn't like that the movie, how best to say this, exaggerated the history of the Battle of Thermopylae. It wasn't...
Nobody liked that they exaggerate. It's a fucking movie. What the fuck are we doing? It's a movie.
all made up.
Only Spartan women give birth to real men.
Lay down your weapons! Come and get them! Our arrows will blot out the sun.
Then we will fight in the shade.
But a lot of it kind of was.
Wait. Michael Fassbender was in here too?
We'll blot out the sun.
Then we will
Why did I not remember
fight
that?
in the shade.
But a lot of it kind of was, which led some critics to dwell on how its preposterous visuals contain nothing remotely like reality. Well, fair enough. On the other hand, it's
Whatever.
really cool.
It's really
Some of the criticism was more serious, though, like the people who called it a porno military curiosity
okay.
and army recruiting.
Now I see how this could look a little too much, but it was a still fire movie.
Which celebrates a fascist ideal that it's very possible the Fuhrer might have loved. As everyone knows, the biggest problem with Hitler was his taste in movies.
Remnants of a senseless tradition.
But if you sort of squint, the description isn't that far off. 300 doesn't just play
I ain't gonna lie. Zack Snyder could do a God of War movie. If he kind of uses the same like color palette and all that in this film, plus the same type of enhanced nighttime that he uses in Batman v Superman, and mix that together, I think you make a fire ass God of War movie.
fast and loose with the facts of history.
Especially with his Blaze of Chaos, and have that in slow mo and see all the chains like flowing and all that. Like, bro, come on.
Plays fast and loose with them
he
in
would
a way
kill
that
it.
glorifies the Spartan way of life
Come back with your shield. Or on it.
and the Spartan approach to battle.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
The hero of the movie was explicitly selected as an infant for his physical perfection.
If he'd been small or puny, or sickly or misshapen, you would have been discarded.
It does start to look like war propaganda. The Spartans take great joy, not just in displays of bravery or the brotherhood of the militia, but in the sheer carnage of the battlefield.
They look thirsty! Well, let's give them something to drink!
And again, it's very cool.
Like,
Rotten Tomatoes sort of summarizes all the critical responses by saying the movie is visually exciting, but simple-minded. At the very least,
it's simple. So did you want something complicated? Like, what?
This movie is politically naive.
Glorious.
But that raises a question.
Politically
Is it
naive.
fair to assume that the guy who put together this shot is just naive to what his movies are saying?
No.
Because here's something that most of these reviews aren't taking into account. This whole story is told to us by a narrator, Dilios.
Our King Leonidas!
And Dilios is half blind. You could say his perspective is literally one-sided.
One-sided.
Grand tale to tell. Tale of victory.
And if you think a stylist like Snyder doesn't understand the implications of that visual, he actually draws more attention to it than the book does. There are parts in the book where it's not even clear that Dilios is narrating the story, and we don't see him with a missing eye until the very end. Snyder makes it explicit that 1, this story is told entirely by Dilios, and 2, his perspective is compromised from his first scene.
Ready to devour tiny Greece, the world's one hope for reason and justice.
This might go some way to explaining other decisions, like the portrayal of the Immortals. Where the book is content to leave them mysterious and faceless, the movie goes out of its way to show them as subhuman monsters.
Eyes as dark as night, teeth filed to fangs. The Immortals.
And that's not the only thing the movie version finds a way to slightly exaggerate. The opening shot of the pile of infant skulls was not in the graphic novel at all. Adding it not only draws attention to the cost of Leonidas' selection, but it surrounds the entire story with images of death.
Yeah.
Still, it makes sense that some people miss this. This is not how most movies handle an unreliable narrator. 300 isn't a tragedy or a satire, and there's no climactic sequence where the narrative falls apart. It's actually a little weird for a movie to signal such an obvious unreliable narrator without ever actually contradicting his story. There's a tension created here that Snyder never bothers to resolve. But should he want to? Because, on the other hand, the Battle of Thermopylae really did happen. What Leonidas and the Spartans did has become the stuff of legend. Maybe 300's just being more honest than most movies, that it's not giving you the full story. Or yeah, maybe it's a spoof that turns the whole thing into a macho war hype video. The point is, Snyder isn't making that decision for you.
An age of freedom!
300 kind of says, yeah, why not, to all of these potential interpretations. And it was also just the beginning of the way Snyder would manipulate narrative over the course of his career. The success of 300 led him to adapt Watchmen. And even though it, too, is a story that deals with contradictory narratives and unreliable narrators, that also got a pretty mixed reception from the critics. The Snyder cut that got really complex in this area is the one he designed from the ground up.
Designed from the ground up?
Sucker Punch
Oh.
is sort of like a funhouse mirror version of 300. Instead of a hyper-faithful adaptation, it's a fully original work. And instead of the movie focusing on masculine victory, it gives us a story of female exploitation. And it continued the Snyder tradition of getting mixed. Whoa! Yikes. Okay,
22%,
so
damn.
critics went in hard this time.
Why?
They accused Sucker Punch of being creatively bankrupt and
What?
appallingly bad. A tawdry and repellent action fantasy, even the worst film of the year.
What?
Well, at least no one brought up Hitler, right? But its defenders are out there too, with a few calling it things like one of the most misunderstood films of the decade.
Yeah.
Again, we seem to have two different movies. But Sucker Punch invites this disagreement in a much more explicit way than 300 ever did. This time, the opening shot makes it even more obvious that we shouldn't trust anything we see. The story is split into somewhere between 3 and 5 different layers of narrative, dealing with the imprisonment of our main character, Baby Doll, alternately portrayed in an abusive psych ward, a seedy brothel, and a series of gonzo video game-inspired action scenes. Depending on who you ask and how complicated you want to think the movie is, Baby Doll herself might be yet another layer of metaphorical projection.
This was never my story. It's yours.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's probably too much. It's easy to lose an emotional connection to a story that requires this much cerebral interpretation to filter it through, especially when it comes to those combat sequences, which, cool though they may be, are so detached from reality that they wind up undercutting the tension built up in the rest of the movie.
But like, I understand what he means when he says that, but like, I don't know, like, because when I remember watching Sucker Punch, like, because like you said, you can't really fully trust what she's saying, but you're trying to figure, like, it's one of those, like, I like watching movies that you might have to rewatch a couple times to like understand, because you don't get it the first time. And I really think that's what Sucker Punch was. Like, you had one version of her, like, reality, or what, I guess, yeah, reality of her going to the psych ward. Then you have her working the brothel, and then, but like, I felt like all that, like, I don't know, it told an interesting, like, story about Baby Doll.
Everything happening in Sucker Punch is conceptually interesting, and if you're into this kind of stuff, well, you're into it. But there's a reason that even a lot of the people who appreciate what Snyder was going for wound up viewing the movie as something like an ambitious misfire. But, as with 300, there's a more serious accusation that the movie has to deal with.
Is that a... Nah, this can't be Oscar Isaac, right?
Which is that Sucker Punch itself is exploiting the female characters and the actresses who play them, that directing the movie effectively makes Snyder a pimp. After all, the first...
Oh, hold up. So wait, that's what they got out of all that. They turned, Zack didn't use, you got pimp, but not, Zack used women in a scene where they might be vulnerable and gave them powerful ways of defending themselves and overcoming it. That's what you didn't get. You got pimp though. You didn't. Did you even watch the movie to see what happened? Like, pimp. That's
first major shift in framing from the asylum to the brothel doesn't really feel very empowering, and the victories they do find there turn out to be fleeting at best.
You gave us quite a scare,
And yeah, things go better for them in the action scenes, but it's hard to deny that these revisionist fantasies turn out to be just that, fantasies. Still, it seems like a stretch to put Snyder on the side of the sadistic wardens, pimps, and Joeys of the movie.
People don't acknowledge it, but it's a protest movie in a lot of ways. I always saw it as an indictment. Like, I was asked at the time, like, why did you dress the girls like that? And I always go, I didn't dress them like that, you did.
It's pretty clear that the
like, I mean, if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. You don't gotta like it. Hey, that's cool. But there's a deeper meaning than, he's a pimp for putting these girls in these outfits and all that. And it's like, whoa. I agree with them. He didn't put them in them outfits. Y'all did. And when he says that, he's really meaning, like, society chose these outfits of like what women, like, even look at strip clubs, what women are wearing, even nowadays. Like, you see them as that, you treat them as that. That's what the visual is. It's, I don't know. Like, hey. Zack said it, better than me.
The movie is about how the girls use the exploitation in their environment as a path to their own empowerment.
I got them to watch me dance.
While we run around and pick their pockets?
Yeah, that's right.
It's why the dances are replaced with the action scenes. The brothel customers still see them as just pure titillation, but Baby Doll sees an avenue to start taking back her freedom. Snyder seems to be saying the girls' ability to take control of their own narrative is the ultimate empowerment.
It's every one of us who holds the power over the worlds we create.
But not everyone's buying this, because while 300 may have left his narrative tension in the background, the ending of Sucker Punch puts it front and center. The empowerment narrative is uncomfortable, because all of Baby Doll's interpretive fantasies aren't enough to change her reality. It's not just that Sucker Punch has multiple narrative layers, it's that all those narrative layers are in conflict with each other. There's a tension here that Snyder never fully resolves, but it seems like that's the idea. What people see when they look at a Snyder movie is a big part of what a Snyder movie is all about. And whether Sucker Punch as a whole is a story of exploitation or empowerment largely depends on which of its narratives is truest. And that's a decision that Snyder deliberately leaves in your hands.
Who chains us? And who holds the key that can set us free? It's you.
This idea of the importance of choice between narratives is at the center of Snyder's take on our most famous modern myth.
Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
Man of Steel.
Nobody's ever gonna top his whole Krypton beginning scene. Nobody's gonna be able to, I don't even say nobody's gonna be able to, like, I don't want to say nobody, but it's gonna take a long time for somebody to top his Man of Steel film. And because it's the best origin story and best Superman origin story movie out there. How you gonna, like, you know, how you gonna beat the whole fucking Krypton scene in itself? Shits on everything. That's shits on everything, in my opinion.
Does not open with an unreliable narrator telling us the story. Instead, it puts the idea of conflicting narratives right into the heart of Superman's story.
Why did you send me here?
In this version of Superman, all the inhabitants of Krypton are genetically engineered for one particular sort of life.
Every child was designed to fulfill a predetermined role in our society.
I can't wait to rewatch this.
Kal-El, on the other hand, has no genetic manipulation.
Your mother and I believe Krypton had lost something precious. The element of choice.
The story of Superman is one Kal-El will have to write himself. And the movie makes that, intentionally, confusing. A lot of superhero movies have a father figure there to give the hero some direction. Man of Steel gives Superman two, who have two very different ideas of who he's supposed to be.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to...
How it should be. I'm not, you know, arguing against him. I'm just saying that's how it should be. Superman has two dads. He has a dad from Krypton and dad from Earth. So it shows Superman, who Superman is, the two sides. Even though he's full Kryptonian, he's still a human in a sense of he grew up with humans, around humans, and even though he's Kryptonian, he has that Kryptonian side. So yeah, I mean, that's how it should be.
To strive towards.
Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
Snyder's whole presentation of Superman seems confusing too, even with regard to the filmmaking itself. Because on the one hand, it presents him as a Christ-like savior. Not a crazy idea, we've seen Superman do this before. Yeah. But the obvious Jesus images are matched by equally obvious images of 9/11 and mass graves. The consequences of Superman's arrival on Earth are biblical, appropriate since he's often used as an allegory for the divine. But
it's perfect, and I'm gonna let him continue. But it's perfect with what Zack was saying about these characters. They're DC characters, and I'm saying this in the other video. DC characters are bigger. Like when you look at Justice League and you look at Avengers, like I said in the other video, they're myth. When you look at Justice League, they're like almost like gods. Even though Superman's human, the Flash got, like, they're basically gods in a sense, and they're bigger than life. They're like they're the mythology. Like, even though both DC and Marvel is mythology, but like Justice League and DC really really goes into that mythology more than Marvel does. And so it makes sense that, like, Superman, like even an event of like fighting Zod and all that, it's not gonna look pretty. It's gonna be a big event that happens. It's not like it's gonna just be like, oh yeah, we're gonna crash through a couple buildings and everything's gonna be okay. No, like, and also what Zod was trying to do, and it's kind of like Transformers, they're trying to bring Cybertron to Earth, or make Earth Cybertron. That's not just gonna be like some small little thing that happens, and like it's gonna be a big event. Like like, it's funny how people complain about like, oh, we're in the Marvel, oh, we're these heroes and all that are when an event happens, they're not there. Oh, where's so and so when this happened, right? But literally this shows you Man of Steel, a big event with Zod. He fights Zod because Zod breaks out of the somehow gets out of the Phantom Zone, and knows Krypton is gone, so he uses Earth to make Krypton again. Like, that's not gonna be some, like, I don't know what people expect the battle with him and Zod's gonna look like, especially if he's gonna try to terraform Earth. It's not gonna look pretty. I don't understand why people complain about, oh my god, it's so, like, why is there so many buildings destroyed? And it's like, bro, you know, in comics and fucking cartoons, buildings and all that get super destroyed. Like, realistically, remember, this is live action. This is fiction, and this is live action. It's not going to be just one building falls down. Even if it's like 2 or 3 buildings that fall down, that's still big damage. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I don't understand this, like, this complaint about, like, oh, the city's destroyed, and it carries on to Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, they not even just address, they, like, continue what happened from Man of Steel, but, like, we're looking at it from Batman's point of view in a sense. So, that shows the connectedness of the universe already. Like, I don't know.
But Snyder knows that encountering God can feel like both salvation and destruction.
Yep. 2 gods.
When Snyder does this, he's not
2 quote-unquote gods fighting each other. Like, and they both could do the same thing. They both can fly, shoot lasers, super punch, can take bullets and all that, and it ricochets off of them. It's those two gods fighting each other. It's not gonna look pretty. It's not gonna be some, oh my god, you know, they're in the middle. It's not gonna be Dragon Ball Z. Remember, this is, I don't know why people look at Superman or Man of Steel and think it's gonna be like Dragon Ball Z, where they're gonna be in the middle of nowhere fighting each other. No, this is not Goku. This is not Goku fighting fucking Vegeta or Frieza in the middle of nowhere, and there's no repercussions. No, there's gonna be repercussions of him living in Metropolis and having to try to save the Earth. Not only just Metropolis, but saving the Earth. So, right.
Not trying to be coherent.
Trying to say, like, what is Superman for now, for us, for our generation?
Superman has traditionally stood for truth, justice, and the American way.
Right.
But this Superman emerged at a time where his audience probably couldn't even agree on what those things mean. What is a symbol of hope in a divided world? But even as Snyder challenges these preconceptions about Superman, he's not trying to fully deconstruct him.
Watchmen, yes, it's a complete deconstruction. Like, you took the entire thing apart, the car. In Man of Steel, the thing was put the car back together now. That concept kind of goes across the entirety of my DC run. We were gonna take the entire thing apart in BVS and then put the thing back together and then take it apart again and then put it back together again.
Superheroes supposedly tell us who we are. So what happens when they don't know who they are? In BVS, both Batman and Superman are in a narrative where the other is the villain.
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Yes. Like, come on. Like, bro, this is the biggest comic book story. Like, think of it. This is the biggest comic book story. Two heroes who look at each other as villains. That's literally Civil War. Even though they're both friends and heroes, they were both looking at each other in a sense of like an enemy. Captain America and Iron Man. Iron Man for sure looking at Cap as an enemy now. Like, he even did in the comics. Looked at Cap as an enemy. Like, but the difference is in this, two heroes who look at each other, who think they're looking at each other and they think one another is the enemy. When really the big enemy is Lex Luthor creating Doomsday, and then you got this big ass monster you gotta handle. Like I don't understand the complaint, and I'm gonna rewatch these movies to try to get understanding. But like, what's the like? How are you a DC fan, but you're complaining heavily on Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and even Justice League? How are you a DC fan? How are you a DC fan? Especially you're complaining about Man of Steel, or you're going back on your whatever comments of saying, "Oh, Man of Steel is the best, superhero movie," or even if you want to say it's the best superhero movie, the best, even though it is. Even if you don't want to say that, then you can say it's the best Superman film. But then the turn around and then complain about it hella hard, like you didn't fuck with it. Like, I'm not saying you can't go back and then look at certain scenes like, he could have done this and this better, but the way people going about it is like the way they're complaining about it like the movie was bad. It's not in the sense of like, oh, okay, this scene he could have just, but they take it like, oh, why do you choose? Just because I don't understand the scene or didn't pay attention beforehand and afterwards. Oh, I don't understand why he allowed his dad to be sucked up by a tornado, but instead of doing a heart attack. Because maybe that's boring. Like. There's a logical answer, and I don't even want to. But it's just like the simplest answer is because a heart attack is boring. Like, him getting his foot stuck and telling his son, "Hey, no." Because remember, like you said, he has two dads who has two different viewpoints. If you were paying attention to the movie, telling him no. Like, he literally told him when he was younger, when he saved a bunch of kids his age in the school bus so they wouldn't drown. You can't use your powers. Like, they're not ready for you, Clark. Did we not see him grow up as a kid before his dad got taken out by a tornado? And the reason why he put his hand out to stop his son from doing that with a bunch of people behind him who could be like that lady who had the son, who told his mom that, like, oh yeah, no, it was Clark that saved us from drowning. You want those people behind him and his and Bartha to snitch on him? Come on now. Let's be for real. If you didn't watch the movie, just say that. Plain and simple. If you didn't watch it, just say that. Or don't say anything at all. But I think it's very insane and idiotic to complain about something in a movie that got clarified beforehand and afterwards in a big way on why that decision was made, and you still complain about it. I understand if you don't like it because you just don't like it and you don't prefer it, but to complain about it like they didn't give you a reason why beforehand and afterwards. And by the way, Kevin Costner fucks with Man of Steel, so I feel like if you got an issue with that, you got an issue with Kevin Costner. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all. But let's
The feeling of powerlessness turns good men.
And don't let me get on Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, bro. I'll defend Batman v Superman. I'll die on that hill. Batman v Superman is a great ass fucking film. Superhero film. I'm gonna die on that hill.
Cruel.
This confusion drives every part of the movie. It's intensified by the media, and it's exploited by Lex Luthor. The big fight is what happens when Batman and Superman try to force a resolution without coming to an understanding.
The world only makes sense if you force it to.
The most famous moment of the movie has to do with their two stories becoming one.
Save!
This, bro, people complain about this scene and it fucking pissed me off. Like, how you not understand? And I still stand by my tweet on Twitter that I feel like a lot of people only saw the theatrical version and didn't watch the what's it called, the Ultimate Edition, which is the Zack's version of it. I feel like people didn't watch the Ultimate Cut or the Ultimate Edition, and that's where people have a complaint about Martha. Where was that? What was I saying? Oh yeah. Focus. This was the biggest fucking, like, when I say, like, you know how I said before, like, did you really pay attention? This was really like, did you pay attention? But like, I understand if people didn't watch the Ultimate Edition or not, and I really recommend you should go watch the Ultimate Edition because you'll get all the context. But if you're somebody who's seen the actual version and the Ultimate Edition and you're still like, the Martha scene's still stupid, you're dumb. I don't understand, like, because you gotta think about it. If you're put in a situation like that with Bruce, who is already on a mission to kill him, and he's midway gonna stab him, you only have a short amount of time to get whatever you need out to stop him from doing whatever it is. And so what is the one thing to tell him? He's not, if you said stop, that's not even gonna do anything, because he said stop, like, don't do this. He been saying that the whole fight. But like, now it's really like, fuck, okay, if you do kill me, at least save my mom, save Martha. And they don't know that both their moms have the same name. So it's just like one of those, like, oh wait, how do you know that name? How do you know that name? Like, I don't know how that is stupid or dumb. Like, I don't know. I like the way he did that, because it's like, damn, I don't have an out. I don't have no way of stopping him. So I guess the only thing I was telling him is, hey, save Martha. Because he's gonna, if he says save my mom, he's not gonna know his mom's name. So save Martha. Like, I don't know.
Martha!
And yeah, okay, this is one of those times where Snyder gets a little clumsy.
Why did you say that name?
Look, the guy isn't perfect, but he's not really claiming to be. He knows his approach can be polarizing.
And the internet can be cruel, which it was.
But appropriately enough, Snyder's okay with there being conflicting narratives about his own work.
I like the cyclical nature of the internet. It's cool. It's poetic, truly.
Contradiction is what defines a Snyder cut. Like in Justice League, where his heroes have to unify to fight a unity. And sure, he does this in ways that make some people uncomfortable, but isn't the world a little contradictory? Especially when it comes to things like the thin barrier between inspiration and propaganda, or between exploitation and empowerment, or the fear that the work of a savior might result in someone's world coming apart. Snyder seems less interested in telling you what to think than in giving you things to think about. It's worth mentioning.
Is this what was playing? What the fuck? I was about to say, what was... But that's what I like about certain movies. Like, yeah, I enjoy movies that, you don't really got to think about and you can just sit there and watch it. But I like a movie that makes you think about things and really, like, gives good conversation about stuff. Like, I like, and especially since they're doing it for DC, I love that because there's stories where you do question about, like, okay, what is too far for Batman? Like, yeah, Batman does, like you say, he doesn't kill, but he could put somebody on the brink of death, and that's okay. Like, stuff like that. Like, I like conversation. I like, the questioning about certain things of to really think about it, especially like motives and like really thinking about, like, really putting in perspective of, like, okay, how would Superman really operate in this world? How, like how would the, stuff we see in cartoons and comic books, how would that affect a real world situation? Like, fighting somebody like Zod, what would that look like? How would it, like, what realistic, however close we can get it realistically, even though it's a fiction story, but, like, put realism into it, how would that look like? It's not gonna look pretty in a sense of, like, them, like, it's gonna look cool fighting, but, like, the destruction and the aftermath and stuff around them isn't gonna look pretty. But they even show in, is it BVS where they started rebuilding everything? Like, it was either not BV, it was either BV, yeah, it was either BVS, no, it had to be BVS because they're still doing press stuff. But even BVS, like BVS and Justice League, they showed Metropolis was built back up. It was thriving again. Like it isn't like an end all be all of, like, oh man, this place is destroyed, da da da. Like, there's more like, it's serious stuff to it.
Mentioning too,
or I don't want to say serious, I don't even know what I was gonna say, but
that a lot of artists are nothing like this. They tell stories so that you know what they think.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I like about Zack is, like, certain stuff of, like, he's not telling you what it is. It's, what do you think it is? And I like certain, like, and that's what makes art. Like, not a lot of movies has to be like, oh, this is what it is. Like, this is for sure what it is, because I feel like it puts you in a box. And then when you're put in that box, you can't really go out of it that much. So when you put it in a perspective of, like, okay, what do you think this is? This is, even though I'm putting my idea of what it is, you can still question what is about it that, like, you can actually question about it instead of just being like, oh yeah, this is what he said it is, and it's what it is. It makes you think, so, like, is it really this? Why did he do that? What's the reason? And, like, that's what I really like about Batman v Superman. Like, the decisions that Zack made in there, like, it made me really look at it like, yeah, why did he do this? But when you start to kind of understand and hear from him and in the film what the reasons are and all that, it makes you be like, all right, I understand. Like, at least for me, I can only speak for me. I look at him like, all right, I fuck with that. I don't, I fuck with this. But a lot of people didn't fuck with what he did with Batman v Superman. So
they're not interested in exploring a complex idea, or even in admitting that many ideas are complex. If you're a fan of Snyder's approach, this very open-endedness is what makes his movies so interesting to watch. And if you're not a fan of it, well, that's fine. He certainly wouldn't hold it against you.
Is Zack Snyder an auteur?
Auteur.
I think I'm going to leave that up to the audience to decide.
You didn't think we'd forget about the Owls of Ga'Hoole,
oh,
right?
I forgot he did this.
It's actually the movie that inspired this entire video. since a story about two brothers who wind up on opposing sides of a conflict because one of them believes in the old legends of a mythical warrior sect called the Guardians, and the other has been, funnily enough, listening to Nazi propaganda. Well, you get the idea. Make sure to subscribe or find other ways to keep in touch, because next time we'll be tackling this, or maybe this. We'll see which one comes first.
Nice. I like how he does I like how he does his videos. I'll be interested. I would be interested to look at more of his stuff, but shout out to So Uncivilized, man. Like I really think Zack is even though I don't know how he is, but bless me. I don't know how he is, but for some reason people, I think, misunderstand him and his way of going about his films and all that. And I think the way he operates and does his movies, I think it helps change the landscape of movies and how what you can do in movies. Like just stuff from Man of Steel itself, like gave a lot of inspiration to a lot of like action scenes and all that. So that alone is just like, I don't know, that should say something in itself. Yeah. I know lots of people laugh at how hyper-masculine the Spartans look in 300, but having literally just come back from holiday in Greece, I think that also ties into the propaganda at play by Delios and all the Greek ancestry faces and statues strongmen are depicted with abs. It's the Greeks portraying in a romanticized sense their own idealized version of a male body. The Spartans in 300 also bear those abs, as if taken straight from the marble carving of the statue of Zeus. Yeah. I love how you chose focus on Snyder. I feel that him and Lucas are similar in the way they're willingly to be stylishly vulnerable, and how their honesty is tragically rejected. Yeah, I mean, people who like them like don't reject it, but it's just audiences. You can't say their audiences because that's like saying they're people who like their stuff, but you could definitely say audience, how audiences don't, but, and the funniest thing, I heard, and this is somebody being stupid commenting this, but I remember somebody being mad that in Rebel Moon, Zack had a scene where a girl was about to be, SA'd, and Cora, a woman, comes in and helps out, like, and stops them, like, and it wasn't just her, it was other people in there, but like, they had an issue with grapist. I'm gonna say that grape, like the fruit grapist, or SAers, getting killed and fucked up. Like if you're somebody who has a problem seeing that on screen, but you're okay seeing a bunch of violence and all that other stuff on some like fucked up shit, you have issues and probably shouldn't watch or comment about anything Zack does if you're somebody who has an issue with that. Because I think in every film Zack's done, yeah, even Army of the Dead, all the women are shown being badasses, realistically badasses. It's not like some, other than Justice League with the Amazonian, but even they made the Amazonians fire. even in Wonder Woman. So I don't know, man. I don't know what people's issues with Zack is, but it's, you know, it's their issue. I enjoy Zack's content, so I'm always gonna be there for Zack films and anything Zack Snyder does. That looks, you know, fire to me. So but yeah, man. That's been our reaction to So Uncivilized, why we never agree on Zack Snyder. Shout out to him. Shout out to his video and what he's done. And yeah, man. If you like content and content like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to stay notified when I post. I got some other videos I'm gonna put at the end, or it's gonna pop up, of, you know, me doing, of, you know, Zack Snyder related topics and all that I've done before. And check out the other videos on the channel. I do reactions to music, movies, movie trailers, TV trailers, you know, trailers and all that, some gaming vids, and we're about to start movies and TV reactions, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, man, we out of here. Deuces.